Her kitchen hygiene, I think this is a bit harsh. There was a bug that was seen crawling out from under a plate of cookies during season 2 of her cooking show.
Meghan Markle once stood on royal balconies beside the Queen, commanding global attention with every move. But now she's in tears after Kim Kardashian cut her down with just a few brutal words. What was meant to be a sleek Hollywood reinvention has spiraled into humiliation, with Meghan's brand reduced to a punchline in the Kardashian empire's world of endless clout. Kim didn't shout, she didn't rant, she dropped one cold line, and the internet did the rest. So the question is, how did a duchess end up being outplayed by reality TV royalty, the Kardashian plan that backfired?
And critics are saying that it's unsanitary and, it's just turned into a PR fiasco. But I think the reason why people care about it is because she's talking about her entire new brand is about elevating.
You'd think Meghan Markle, of all people, would know by now that nothing in Hollywood comes for free, especially when the Kardashians are involved. But no, she thought she had the perfect plan. Send out these luxury PR baskets to the Kardashian-Jenner sisters, let the sleek packaging and carefully staged contents do the talking, and then just sit back and wait for the magic. One post, one tag, and boom. Instant relevance for her as ever brand. It wasn't a bad strategy on paper. The Kardashians are the gatekeepers of social media clout, and their approval can turn something as simple as a lip gloss into a billion-dollar empire. Meghan wasn't just sending gifts, she was buying her ticket into their inner circle. Or so she thought.
Mentioned earlier, Kim Kardashian gets 1.6 million per Instagram post, so she's got a long way to go to catch up to them. But, there'll definitely be the appetite for it from her, I would think.
Yep. But here's the problem. The Kardashians don't do charity posts. They don't tag you unless there's a reason, and more importantly, unless it benefits them. Khloe Kardashian did post Meghan's basket, but it was the most lukewarm, half-hearted move you could imagine. No mention of Meghan, no tag for the brand, just a fleeting Instagram story that looked like filler content. And in the influencer world, that's worse than a direct rejection. Because if Khloe really wanted to give Meghan a boost, she would have tagged the brand, added a caption, maybe even done one of those trendy unboxings. Instead, she treated it like background noise, the same way she might post a candle or some snacks. That silence, it was deafening. People online immediately noticed what wasn't said. No acknowledgement, no appreciation, nothing that would link Meghan to the Kardashian machine. And when it comes to celebrity PR, silence speaks volumes. It basically told the world that Meghan's gift wasn't important enough to deserve the Kardashian stamp of approval. That's the ultimate cold shoulder in Hollywood, and Meghan knows it. Now here's where it gets messier. Rumors started swirling that Khloe wasn't even the original recipient. Some insiders whispered that the basket had been regifted, passed along from one sister to another, or maybe even handed off by an assistant. In normal life, regifting is tacky. In celebrity culture, it's brutal. It's like saying, "We don't need this, but you can have it." If Meghan's basket really got passed around before it landed in Khloe's Instagram story, then the whole thing becomes even more humiliating. She wasn't just ignored, she was sidelined. And think about the timing. Khloe posted this story during Kylie Jenner's birthday celebrations. The Kardashians were already drowning in content. Family parties, glam photos, brand collabs. Meghan's basket barely registered in the noise. It looked like a random extra, not a prized gift. Some gossip blogs even suggested that Khloe's post was a mistake, that she uploaded it without realizing it would be dissected by fans looking for drama. And if that's true, then Meghan's big PR moment was nothing more than an afterthought, a piece of content shoved into a Kardashian storyline that had nothing to do with her. Kim's brutal words land hard.
Podcasts, they're now worth an estimated 204 million Australian dollars. They're not doing too bad for themselves, surely.
If Khloe Kardashian's silent brush-off wasn't humiliating enough, Kim swooped in with the kind of shade that only she could deliver. It wasn't loud, it wasn't angry. It was one of those casual, offhand comments that slices deeper than a full-on rant. At a promo event, Kim quipped, "Some people think a podcast is just complaining with a microphone." The room erupted in laughter, the clip hit social media within minutes, and everyone knew exactly who she was talking about. She didn't need to say Meghan's name. The joke landed, the internet connected the dots, and suddenly, Meghan's Archetypes podcast was trending again, but not for the reasons she'd hoped. The timing couldn't have been worse. Meghan had poured months of energy into archetypes, branding it as a groundbreaking project that would change the way we look at women in media. She pulled in big-name guests, wrapped it all in sleek production, and leaned heavily on her Duchess status to give it gravitas. But Spotify wasn't impressed. They ended the deal after one season, with insiders whispering that Meghan didn't deliver enough content and struggled with consistency. Basically, it was a flop in streaming terms, and Meghan was already smarting from that failure. Then Kim came along and boiled the whole thing down to a punchline. What made Kim's words so devastating wasn't just the accuracy, it was the delivery. Kim didn't look pressed, bitter, or mean. She was calm, smirking, completely in control. It was shade-served ice cold, the kind you laugh along with before you even realize how harsh it really is. And that's Kim's superpower. She's been roasted a million times over the years, but she always finds a way to flip the narrative, to laugh first, and make money off the joke later. Meghan, by contrast, always looks like she's unraveling under the weight of criticism. So when Kim delivered that dig, the world immediately saw the contrast. One woman laughed at herself and came out on top, the other cried behind closed doors and lost. And of course, the internet had a field day. Memes popped up overnight. TikTok spliced Kim's jab next to clips of Meghan's most dramatic podcast intros, making it look like she was whining straight into the mic. Twitter users dragged Spotify back into the conversation, with one viral post saying, "Kim destroyed Meghan's $20 million podcast in 10 words." Another wrote, "Spotify paid her millions to complain. Kim summed it up for free." Brutal, yes, but that's the reality of the internet. Once the joke catches fire, it's impossible to put out. Behind the scenes, Meghan's PR team reportedly scrambled into panic mode. Some wanted her to ignore it, to act like she was above the shade. Others pushed for a clapback, maybe a speech about supporting women instead of tearing them down. But everyone knew the truth. Kim didn't even need to mention her by name. If Meghan responded, she'd only confirm that the jab hit its target. And if she stayed quiet, she'd look weak. Either way, Kim won. That's the genius of Kim Kardashian. She knows how to land a hit without ever getting her hands dirty. One casual joke, one viral clip, and suddenly Meghan's failures were back in the headlines. Worse, it reframed the whole narrative. Instead of Meghan being the serious activist and entrepreneur she wants to be seen as, Kim's words reduced her to a fragile duchess who couldn't even hold onto a podcast deal. It was ruthless, it was calculated, and it was effective. Meghan's PR nightmare.
Spend a lot of money on security. They've got an expensive lifestyle out there, so they've got money from Netflix for these shows that they're apparently going to go ahead. The holiday special, With Love, Meghan.
If Meghan Markle thought she could ride out Kim Kardashian's icy jab in silence, she was dead wrong. The second Kim's clip hit social media, Meghan's name was dragged back into the headlines, and the spin machine inside Montecito reportedly went into overdrive. Insiders say her PR team was in full panic mode, debating all night long about how to respond. Do they ignore Kim and act like Meghan is above it? Or do they strike back and frame Kim's comment as another example of women tearing each other down? The problem is, both options were a trap. If Meghan ignored it, she looked weak. If she fought back, she looked fragile. Either way, the Duchess lost. Behind closed doors, things got emotional. Sources whispered that Meghan broke down in tears when she realized the internet had turned Kim's joke into a viral storm she couldn't control. She had already been bruised by the South Park parody, mocked for her Netflix projects, and humiliated by Spotify dropping her podcast deal. Kim's words felt like salt in an already gaping wound. Worse, it wasn't just one bad headline. It was thousands of memes, TikToks, and tweets reducing her entire brand to a punchline. For someone who has built her identity on carefully crafted images and speeches, being laughed at on a global scale cuts deeper than any tabloid ever could. Her team scrambled to salvage the situation. Some suggested releasing a statement about the value of archetypes and how it gave women a platform to share stories. Others floated the idea of Meghan doing a sympathetic interview, portraying herself as a victim of bullying from Hollywood's biggest stars. But there was hesitation. Everyone remembered what happened the last time Meghan tried to clap back. The South Park creators doubled down and roasted her even harder. And with Kim, the risk was even higher. The Kardashians thrive on drama. They know how to spin shade into profit. If Meghan came at Kim, The entire family could turn her into their next subplot, and Meghan simply doesn't have the stamina to win that kind of war.
Up-and-coming brands, she says that's one of the most powerful things I'm able to do. And that's simply wearing like an earring. Noble work, Patrick.
The PR nightmare only grew worse when fans noticed Meghan trying to like or subtly acknowledge posts connected to Khloe Kardashian's Instagram story, the one with Meghan's gift basket. Critics pounced, calling it desperate, claiming Meghan was clinging to any breadcrumb of Kardashian attention. Instead of looking like a savvy entrepreneur aligning with Hollywood's most powerful influencers, she looked like a woman begging for relevance. That's the worst image you can project in Los Angeles, where perception is currency. Once you look needy, the doors start closing. And here's the part Meghan's team couldn't spin. The Kardashians didn't need her. They weren't chasing her down for collabs, they weren't reposting her products, and they weren't engaging with her at all. Kim's joke wasn't even a feud, it was a dismissal. Meghan's problem is that she craves validation from people who see no benefit in giving it. That's why the silence after Khloe's story stung. And that's why Kim's comment landed like a knockout punch. It exposed the power imbalance for the whole world to see. By the end of the week, Meghan wasn't trending for her activism, philanthropy, or her lifestyle brand. She was trending because Kim Kardashian had casually demolished her podcast with one offhand remark. Every outlet from Variety to The Sun covered it, turning Meghan into the butt of yet another global joke. Her team may have tried to reframe it as bullying, but the narrative had already spun out of their control. The truth is, Meghan's PR nightmare wasn't just about Kim's words. It was about what those words symbolized. A duchess who once stood at the center of royal power is now scrambling to survive Hollywood's harshest game, and so far, she's losing. The regifting rumor, as if Meghan Markle's humiliation with Kim and Khloe wasn't already messy enough. Hollywood gossip circles added a new layer of scandal, the regifting rumor. And let me tell you, if this one is true, it's the kind of burn you never really recover from in celebrity culture. Because sending a luxury PR basket is supposed to scream exclusivity and importance. So imagine the horror when people start whispering that your carefully curated as ever box didn't even make it to its intended target. Instead, it may have been casually passed around the Kardashian-Jenner orbit like an unwanted wedding favor.
Quite clearly attempts by the Duchess of Sussex to portray in a false and egregious light the royal family in order that she can be this great victim and carry on her failing career in the public eye.
Here's how the whispers go. Meghan's team sent those baskets to multiple members of the Kardashian-Jenner family, hoping at least one of them would post something. Maybe Kylie, maybe Kim, maybe Khloe. The packaging was immaculate, the products perfectly arranged to look Instagram ready, with every detail screaming, "Tag me, please." But when Khloe eventually posted hers, fans immediately clocked something off. It didn't feel personal. It wasn't tagged, it wasn't hyped up, it wasn't even styled the way Khloe usually shows off new things. It looked random, like it had been tossed in with the rest of her content for the day. That's when the speculation started. What if Khloe wasn't even the first to receive it? In Hollywood, regifting happens more than anyone admits. Celebrities get mountains of PR packages every week. Candles, skincare, snacks, you name it. They can't possibly keep it all, so assistants and family members end up taking home what doesn't fit into the main feed. Sometimes things get passed along between the sisters too, which is exactly why people think Meghan's basket may not have been Khloe's in the first place. Maybe it was meant for Kylie and got handed down, or maybe Kim wasn't impressed and slid it over to Khloe's pile. Either way, the optics are devastating. For Meghan, who wanted a Kardashian stamp of approval, the idea that her basket wasn't even important enough to keep is basically the kiss of death. And here's why this rumor stings so badly. Meghan wasn't just sending gifts. She was making a calculated play. She knew the Kardashian effect can sell out a product overnight. She wanted to tap into their billion-follower empire, and she thought she could fast-track her way to relevance with a glossy basket of jam and wine. But if her carefully designed luxury package was treated like filler content, or worse, hand-me-down swag, it destroys the illusion of exclusivity she was going for. Suddenly, her brand doesn't look high-end at all. It looks desperate, like it's begging for attention and being ignored. Fans online wasted no time turning this into mockery. One viral tweet said, "From Buckingham Palace to the regift pile, what a journey. TikTok creators made parody videos showing assistants passing the basket down the chain until it landed in Khloe's hands, captioned with jokes like, "Here, you take it. No thanks, you take it." And the more people laughed, the harder it was for Meghan's team to spin it as a win. Because in influencer culture, authenticity is everything, and nothing feels less authentic than a gift that looks recycled. Even worse, the Kardashians know their brand inside out. They don't forget to tag things, and they definitely don't post products they're excited about without hyping them up. Khloe's bland post said everything without saying a word. If Meghan's basket really was a regift, Khloe's story was basically Hollywood's way of sending back the RSVP. Thanks, but no thanks. And in a world where silence is deadlier than criticism, that little Instagram story may have done more damage to Meghan's brand than any South Park parody ever could. Hypocrisy in the spotlight.
Well, what do you think then, David? I mean, is it a dignified silence or is it a snub? They obviously didn't get mentioned at all. Prince William did.
One of the sharpest criticisms circling Meghan Markle right now isn't just about her failed brand stunts or the silent Kardashian snub, it's about the sheer hypocrisy people are pointing out. And honestly, when you lay out the timeline, it's hard not to raise an eyebrow. Meghan once positioned herself as a voice for justice, someone who stood against powerful institutions when they behaved badly. She sat across from Oprah in that now infamous interview and accused the royal family of racism, coldness, and cruelty. She made it clear she wanted to rise above toxic cultures and create a new image of herself as a humanitarian, a feminist icon, a woman of substance. But here she is, chasing the approval of the Kardashians, a family whose empire is built on scandal, cultural appropriation, and controversy. Now, don't get me wrong, the Kardashians are savvy. No one can deny their hustle or their genius in turning drama into billion-dollar businesses. But they're not exactly the poster family for the kind of values Meghan claimed to champion. These are women who have been called out for everything from exploiting body image issues to recycling scandals for ratings. And yet Meghan, who so boldly spoke against Buckingham Palace, seems more than willing to look the other way when it comes to the Kardashians, simply because their social media reach could benefit her brand. That's where the hypocrisy cuts through, because it shows that maybe Meghan's principles bend when clout is on the line. Critics haven't let this slide. They've pointed out that Meghan spent years condemning the royals as cold, manipulative, and image-obsessed. But if that's what she truly hated, how does she explain trying to cozy up to Hollywood's most image-conscious dynasty? You can't rail against toxic institutions one minute and then beg for a seat at Kris Jenner's table the next. It sends a clear message. It's not the toxicity Meghan objects to, it's being left out of the power structure. And that's a very different story than the one she's tried to tell. The hypocrisy hits even harder when you remember the racism allegations Meghan herself pushed into the spotlight. She claimed senior royals worried about Archie's skin tone, a moment that set the world on fire. But aligning herself with the Kardashians, a family that has been repeatedly accused of tone-deaf behavior when it comes to race, makes it look like Meghan picks and chooses when racism matters. If she truly stood firm in her principles, wouldn't she be wary of tying her brand to a clan with their own long list of cultural controversies? Instead, it feels like she's willing to overlook all of that if it means a Kardashian shout-out. And here's the thing, the Kardashians don't need Meghan. They never did. Their empire is self-sustaining, their brand power unmatched. Meghan, on the other hand, clearly needs them. Her lifestyle brand as ever hasn't taken off the way she dreamed. Her Hollywood projects have stumbled, and her star power isn't what it was when she first left royal life. That imbalance makes her attempts at friendship look less like collaboration and more like desperation. And that desperation strips away the moral high ground she once stood on. Because you can't sell yourself as the principled rebel who broke away from monarchy only to turn around and beg for Kardashian approval. The public sees it and they're calling her out. One viral tweet summed it up perfectly. She didn't leave the royals to escape oppression, she left to become a Kardashian. Ouch. And as brutal as it sounds, that perception is taking root. Meghan's image is shifting from misunderstood outsider to fame-hungry opportunist. And it's not because of what the Kardashians did, it's because of what Meghan is willing to overlook just to get in their orbit. So, what are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below.